Hi, everybody. Merry Christmas! Well, it's almost Christmas, and I'm going to be reading you one of my favorite books, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Yeah, by Dr. Seuss. Yeah, this was a surprise that I was telling you about. How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all might have been that his heart was two sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his gritty fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then all the noise. That's the one thing he hated, the noise. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. They'd sing and they sing, and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must start this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got an wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and coat, and he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up to Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the Grinch started down toward the homes where the Who's lay as news in their town. All the windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he comes to the first little house on the square, this is stop number one, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but it said it could do it. Then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once for a minute or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who's stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around around the whole room, and he took every present: pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. And he stuffed them in bags Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimbley. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food under the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stop at the tree. And the Grinch grabbed a tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like a coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, a Cindy Lou who was no more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by his tiny Who daughter, who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. He stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the pig said as Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child, then he patted her head, then he gave her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuck the tray up. I like this book. Then the last thing he took was her log for the fire. Then he went to the chimney himself, the old liar. On the walls he got nothing but hooks and some wire, and the little speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Page. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 15:15 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Packed him up with his presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's. He was grinchiously humming. They'll find out that no Christmas is coming. They'll just wake up. I know just what they'll do. They'll mouse and hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down the hill will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a sound, Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he heard a sound. Then he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in a low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sounded so merry. The sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it did just the same. And the Grinch with his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours, and the puzzle was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then, well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Oh, I love this book. I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas. I'll see you all later. Merry Christmas, everybody. You can comment down below, what do you like to do for Christmas? Comment down below, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you later. Merry Christmas!